Let's face it, moving can be hard. It can be stressful. And if you add on moving to a different city, it feels like it's downright impossible to accomplish. But I'm here to share with you 6 steps to make it as easy and stress-free as possible. So if you're looking to relocate to Atlanta, Georgia, or the metro Atlanta area, stay tuned. I'm here for you to share those steps right now. Let's do it. Hey, Jonathan McCoy, Atlanta's Real McCoy here with you, and I've lived in Atlanta my entire life, 43 years, been doing real estate for 10 of those years. I know what it's like to work with buyers and sellers that are super stressed. I've worked with hundreds of buyers and sellers that are relocating into and out of metro Atlanta, and I've learned a thing or two that I would like to share with you right now. So whether this is your first time moving or you've done it a bunch, you know or probably are figuring out that it can be very stressful. It can be difficult at times, but if you follow these 6 simple steps, it will save you a lot of time, headache, and heartache down the line. Step 1, it is never too early to get started thinking about and planning for your relocation. If you know that you're moving to another city, for instance, Atlanta, Georgia, reach out to us, whether it's a year, 6 months early, give me a call. Let's talk about and plan out your move and what it's going to be like living here in Atlanta, Georgia. You're moving to a new city. You've got a lot of steps involved with that process of moving from where you are to where you're coming to. Get started early. I promise you it will relieve so much stress for you, and if you're moving with family, your family. And I've covered the whole gambit in terms of people reaching out to me relocating here. People that are moving that day, that are starting really late in the process, and people that are 6 months to a year out. And in my experience, those that have reached out early have had a lot less stress when it comes to moving here and are usually more happy with the purchase that they make. And that actually leads us to step 2. Step 2 is narrowing down your criteria and location. You're gonna notice that Atlanta is very spread out. It's the reason why we have some of the worst traffic anywhere in the US, is because we are so far spread out. There are a lot of options to choose from in terms of where you want to live, and also figuring out what you want in a home, because those two are gonna go hand in hand. Of course, you're gonna have a budget, so you've gotta figure out, all right, how much am I gonna spend on a home? Is what I'm gonna spend actually going to buy me not only the house I want, but maybe the location I wanna be in? For instance, let's say that you have $500,000, you want a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home, and you want to be in Peachtree Corners, where I'm at right now. You start looking, and you start noticing that that 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home that you want, that maybe you want all the updates and everything nice and new, that is not in your budget. That home is gonna be $600,000 or $700,000 here. Question is, would you rather buy a home in this location that maybe doesn't match what you want in a home, or are you gonna move to a different location, one that's a little less expensive, to get that home you want, but it's not in the area you want? The best thing you can do is start early. Start narrowing down your location, how much it's gonna cost to live there, and what type of home you can purchase. When it comes to narrowing down your location, kind of depends on your situation. What are you desiring for a location you want to live in? Are you looking for great schools? Then you need to start that research early and figure out what is a great school for you. Just because that you see some kind of rating on like schools.com or whatever the rating sites are of a 10 for a school doesn't mean that might be a 10 for you. So let's say maybe you're single, for instance. Well, Peachtree Corners maybe not be the place for you. Maybe you want a more active nightlife, and that's not really what you find here in Peachtree Corners. Maybe you want to be moving to a place like Midtown or Brookhaven. This is where, again, looking ahead of time and trying to figure out what matches what you want or your family wants is going to be crucial. If you're looking for more outdoor activities, maybe you want to be on the north side of Atlanta if you like to go hiking so you can be closer to the mountains. Maybe you want to live that lake life and looking around Lake Lanier or Lake Altoona. These are definitely things that you want to figure out early on so you can set your budget up and, again, be as stress-free as possible for when you start actually looking to purchase a home. Step 3 is customizing your search. Once you figure out your criteria, what you can afford, and the location you can afford it in, then you can really narrow down that search into where you're wanting to move to. And again, start this early. Start getting those homes sent to your inbox so you can take a look and see, does this really match what you want in a home purchase? The earlier you start seeing that, the easier it will be to narrow down the area. It might be that you're thinking you really love Duluth, Georgia, or you really love Midtown. You start searching and you start getting these homes, these townhomes, these condos in your inbox, and you figure out as you keep looking and looking, there's just nothing that really matches what you want, right? So this is where customizing your search, seeing what you can get into is going to be helpful for later down the line. That way, when you actually start coming here and looking and ready to purchase a home, it's going to go much faster and be a much easier process for you. Step number 4, schedule tour dates. You can have the idea of where you want to move to, some good areas that you think would be lovely. The next thing is to schedule tours. And this is not just tours of homes. You can do that, you can do that early. You can say, hey, I'm not necessarily ready to buy, but I want to go see what my money will purchase me in certain areas. Go tour a few homes, see if those are ones that would match what you're looking for. But you also want to tour the areas. This is super important for pretty much anywhere you move, but definitely for Atlanta for a few reasons. Reason number 1, traffic. All right, you should tour the areas at different times of day, especially on work days. Figuring out where you're working at compared to where you want to live at. Now, if you're working from home, it's not really going to be too big of an issue. But if you are working, let's say in downtown Atlanta, and you want to move to or live in Sandy Springs or Roswell, you want to figure out that traffic time and do it on different days. Because I promise you, there can be times where you may only live 10 miles away and it takes you an hour to get there. For instance, just yesterday, I actually live about 4 miles away from my home from this office, and it took me 45 minutes to get home. Now, this was a little bit more of a rarity, but even my commute can vary from 20 minutes in the afternoon all the way to 30 minutes. And that 45-minute day can certainly happen. Then next, as you're touring around, figuring out if you like, the amenities that are close by, the restaurants, the shops, the dining. Are you looking in an area, or maybe you find a neighborhood you really like that's really tough to get out of during traffic time? Or maybe as you're going around and let's say you want more kids in a neighborhood, and you start going to a neighborhood you think you might like, and as you drive around, maybe on a weekend, you see there's not really a lot of kids out and about. Or maybe you don't want kids around, you see a ton of kids and there's too many kids for your liking. Touring around and figuring out not only the areas you like, but maybe in specific neighborhoods is important and very helpful when it comes to purchasing your home. Don't be one of those buyers that a year or two from now, you look at it and say, man, I just hate the area, I hate the commute time, I wish I would have bought a home in a different place. Touring around early can save you headaches down the line. It can save you heartache down the line. We want you to love where you're going to live at. All right, step number 5, securing finances. Do this early. There are people that think, hey, I can probably afford a $600,000 home, and then once they talk with a financial advisor or they talk with a loan officer for a loan they might be getting to purchase a home, they find out that that $600,000 payment is not what they were looking for. Or they find out they maybe only qualify for maybe $500,000. You want to secure your financing early on and know what you can afford before you just start looking. Now, another thing I want to discuss with you, who do you choose for a loan officer? All right, securing that financing is important, but knowing who the loan officer is and who's going to be helping you is also important, especially depending on the type of market you're dealing with. There are a few options. Yes, there are online lenders that you probably get a lot of email and spam for and advertisements online when you're searching on social media that will bombard you with their rates, and sometimes they can give pretty decent rates. However, in some experiences of buyers that I've had, some of the online stuff can be a little more tricky to deal with because they're not physically here, a lot of them, in Atlanta area. You're talking on the phone. They might have someone representing them here in Georgia, but the people that they work with, their underwriters, are in another state. Then they might call an appraiser from a company that actually doesn't work in the area either, so you can have issues with appraisal problems as well. So this can be a little bit more difficult, especially if you're looking to do a quick move. This can be harder to work with. Some people decide, hey, instead of saving a little bit money, I would rather have someone that's solid, that I really want to work with, and that comes to local lenders. Local lenders can be super helpful because lots of times, not only is the lender here, but everybody in their company is here. The underwriter, they have appraisers that know the area. So if you're looking for a little less stress, but it might be a little bit higher interest rate or maybe higher closing costs than the local lender sometimes is the person you want to go with. Sometimes you can actually get the best of both worlds, and that's the local lender that also gives the best rates, and they're here, they've got great appraisers that they work with. That leads me to my next point, and that is shop around, okay? Look at your online, look at your local, look at your big banks if you want to, big bank lenders like Wells Fargo or Truist. Again, they have the same kind of problems as like the online, is sometimes their underwriters are not here in Atlanta area, they're somewhere else, so you can have a little bit of delays, you can't close as fast, so shop around. And what you can do is, when you shop around, is you can find maybe a lender you really like, that you really want to work with, but maybe their rate's not as good. You find this great rate with someone else, you go back to that lender you really like and say, hey, can you match this rate? And lots of times they can. Or can you match the origination fees or the fees that come with getting a loan? That means you definitely want to shop around and figure out what's the best rate and who's the best person for you to work with. And when you do this early, once again, you take that stress right off because you have plenty of time to figure it out. That leads us to step 6, and that's managing the process. This is putting it all together. Once you see this all and all the steps to talk about, again, it can start to build up that stress and all the things you have to do. That doesn't need to be the case. You can have people in your corner helping you out. Having someone on your side to battle for you, knowing the areas, knowing homes, knowing the construction and how it works. Having people and resources available to hand to you is so important to make that move as smooth as possible. All right, so what do you do for your next step? Well, that's easy. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. We would love to start talking with you and planning out your relocation to Atlanta and the metro Atlanta area. And if you want to get an idea of what it's like to live in Atlanta or get a tour of some of the areas, I've got videos that you can take a look at. I post videos every week. And if you want to just know more about living, working, playing, and breathing all things Atlanta and the metro Atlanta area, hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.